The phrase, "no time to waste," is not just a catchy statement, it reflects a very serious reality. And when the head of the Environmental Protection Agency speaks with this sense of urgency, it is not something to brush aside. The EPA has been tasked with protecting public health and safeguarding the environment in the United States, but its warnings often resonate far beyond national borders because pollution, climate change, and resource mismanagement are global in scope. What we are hearing now is a call to accelerate action immediately, to understand that the pace of damage to our ecosystems is faster than the pace of solutions being put in place. This gap between problem and response is where the danger lies, and that is what the agency's leader is trying to make clear. Let's break down what this urgent warning could mean. The EPA chief is essentially saying there can be no waiting period, no phase of testing the waters before taking action. In climate science and environmental management, delayed responses translate into exponential harm. When greenhouse gases accumulate, when toxic waste lingers in water bodies, when industrial emissions go unchecked, the effect multiplies year after year. Scientists explain it as a compounding effect, where each year of inaction not only adds new damage, but worsens the existing conditions, making them harder and more expensive to fix later. Think of it as a leaking pipe in your home. If you fix it right away, it's just a small job. But if you wait, the leak destroys the walls, the floor, and even the foundation, costing 10 times more to repair. The EPA warning is that the environmental leak has been dripping for decades, and now it's about to collapse the structure if urgent work is not done. This is not just about abstract numbers or charts. It is about people's daily lives. Communities living near factories face higher rates of asthma and heart problems because of polluted air. Families relying on rivers and lakes for water struggle when those sources are contaminated with chemicals or waste. Farmers across many regions are experiencing unpredictable seasons, intense droughts, or devastating floods, making food security unstable. For Muslim-majority countries and communities, especially those in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, these changes carry an even heavier burden. Nations with already limited water supplies are seeing those supplies shrink further. Hotter summers make outdoor work and farming far more dangerous. The Quran speaks about water as the essence of life, and Muslims around the world understand the sacred responsibility of not wasting it. That teaching aligns perfectly with what the EPA chief is warning about. Protecting the Earth's resources is not optional, it is a duty. When we look at the urgency from a technical side, the EPA focuses on specific targets. These include reducing carbon emissions from power plants, regulating methane from oil and gas operations, pushing industries to cut waste, and setting stricter limits on vehicle pollution. Each of these steps might sound like government paperwork, but they translate into very practical changes in daily life. Cleaner cars mean fewer hospital visits for children with breathing problems. Less methane from energy companies means slower warming of the planet, because methane is dozens of times more powerful than carbon dioxide in trapping heat. Stronger water protections mean fewer cases of cancer and other illnesses linked to toxins. But here's the challenge the EPA head is stressing. Every one of these actions takes time to implement, time to write regulations, time to enforce them, time to replace old technology with new. Meanwhile, the climate does not wait. Fires, floods, and storms are happening faster, stronger, and in more places than before. This is why the phrase "no pacing ourselves" was used. It means if authorities act slowly, nature will not slow down with them. The storm seasons will not wait until policies are perfect. Heat waves will not pause until new technologies are installed. This urgency calls for parallel action, where governments, industries, and communities all work simultaneously, rather than one after the other. Another layer to this is global cooperation. The EPA is an American institution, but pollution is borderless. If factories in one country release massive amounts of smoke, the winds carry it across continents. If plastics are dumped into one river, they eventually find their way into oceans shared by all nations. For Muslims worldwide, the concept of ummah, or global community, emphasizes shared responsibility. Protecting the environment cannot be something one nation does while another ignores. It requires collective effort, and this aligns with Islamic principles of stewardship of the earth, where humans are seen as khalifa, caretakers of creation, responsible for maintaining balance and justice. From an economic perspective, some critics worry that aggressive environmental rules could hurt industries and raise costs. But the counter-argument, and one the EPA stresses, is that inaction costs much more. Disasters caused by climate change destroy infrastructure, wipe out crops, and displace millions of people. Rebuilding after hurricanes or droughts costs far more than preventing them through cleaner energy and stronger protections. Muslim economies, many of which rely heavily on agriculture, are particularly vulnerable. Investing in solar power, water conservation, and sustainable farming is not just good for the planet. It is essential for survival in these regions. The idea that prevention is better than cure, well known in Islamic teaching, fits perfectly into this reasoning. Let's also remember that urgency does not only come from fear, it also comes from opportunity. The transition to clean energy is not just a challenge, it is a massive source of new jobs and industries. Solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicles, energy-efficient buildings, these are fields where millions of people can find work. For Muslim youth, who make up a majority of populations in many countries, this is a chance to build futures that are both economically secure and environmentally responsible. Innovation in green technology is a space where Islamic nations can lead, combining traditional values of conservation with modern science. The EPA's message is also a reminder of accountability. In Islam, accountability on the Day of Judgment includes how we treated the blessings of earth, air, water, soil, and life itself. Wastefulness is condemned and balance is praised. The warning from the EPA chief should not be seen as just political rhetoric. It is a reflection of the same moral and ethical responsibility that faith traditions, including Islam, have been teaching for centuries. Whether it is Prophet Muhammad's guidance not to waste water even while standing at a flowing river, or Quranic verses about not causing corruption on earth, the parallels are clear. Protecting the environment is not a Western agenda, it is a universal one. When we look at what this means for ordinary people, the question is always, what can I do? While big policies are written at government levels, individual actions still matter. Choosing to save energy, reduce waste, and support sustainable products adds up. For Muslims, even simple acts like conserving water during ablution, planting trees, or supporting local clean initiatives become acts of worship and service to humanity. The EPA's warning may sound like it's directed at industries, but in reality, it is also directed at citizens, because without public support, no policy can succeed. The urgency also means we cannot keep dividing issues into separate boxes. Environmental policy is health policy. It is economic policy. It is food security policy. It is migration policy. When crops fail due to drought, people are forced to leave their lands, which creates refugee crises. When air pollution causes disease, health systems are overwhelmed. When floods destroy infrastructure, economies suffer. Every one of these challenges affects Muslim communities as much as anyone else, and often more so, because many Muslim-majority regions are located in climate-vulnerable zones. The warning from the EPA chief is, therefore, a warning for the entire global community. To understand the technical urgency, scientists talk about tipping points. These are thresholds beyond which change becomes irreversible. For example, if polar ice melts beyond a certain percentage, it cannot simply refreeze because the darker ocean water absorbs more heat than reflective ice, creating a loop that speeds up warming. If rainforests are cut down beyond a certain area, they cannot regenerate fast enough to function as carbon sinks. Once these tipping points are crossed, no amount of future policy can reverse the damage. This is why the EPA says there is no time to waste. Every year matters, every month matters, sometimes even every week. This is where faith and science intersect in a powerful way. Islam teaches that the earth was created with balance, mizan, and that upsetting this balance is an act of injustice. Modern science explains in technical terms how that balance is measured: carbon levels, water cycles, biodiversity, and more. When policymakers, scientists, and communities listen to both these voices together, they realize the same truth. Delay is not an option. Urgency is the only responsible choice. The EPA chief's urgent words can be seen as both a warning and a wake-up call. It is easy to feel overwhelmed, to think the problem is too large, but history shows that rapid transformation is possible. Just decades ago, cities around the world were choking with smog, rivers were catching fire due to pollution, and industries faced no limits. Strong action, when finally taken, cleaned the air, restored the rivers, and proved that change is possible when urgency is recognized. Today's crisis is larger, but so is our capacity to respond. Muslims, along with all humanity, have both the responsibility and the opportunity to step forward as guardians of the earth.